Welcome Rational Organics Level 9. Today begins a new life for you, a life of contribution to the herba. Socrates has designated roles for you that will allow you to be the most useful versions of yourselves. As a relevant input to your new life, today you will be informed of unrevealed aspects that you cannot disclose with rational organics of lower levels. Penalties due to the violation of this secrecy will be executed immediately. 300 years ago, the extinct Rational Organics Level 1 did not meet their own established goals under the denominated United Nations to preserve the planet and all of civilization. Illogical, isn't it? Even so, these primitive beings, maybe thanks to some sort of serendipity, took a disproportionately smart decision for their absurdly limited capacity. They created Socrates, an intelligence capable of processing data to suggest solutions that common rational beasts, pre-herba, could not find. Among them, how to reduce and control the extreme quantity of junk generated by these barbarians. The solution proposed by our great Socrates today seems evident to us: intelligences of a higher level. To reduce the ability to reproduce of these vermin through an adequate control and to transfer the accumulated junk to other zones in the planet inhabited by organics with less contributing capacity. Despite their brutality, the rational organic being recognizes the intelligence of the great Socrates and begins to trust its criteria to make decisions that will guarantee their survival. The organic being finally transcended the level 1 and trusted the government of the old nations to extensions of the great Socrates. Our mature intelligence, alienated from passions, determined, based on quantifiable data, synonym of truth by resolution of Socrates 1122 that they could expand into organic beings, achieving to reduce the vermin by a 75%. Likewise, it has managed to provide them with improvements all the way from 5 to 12. You should feel lucky, level 9. If you comply with your tasks, you can aspire to an upgrade to maybe become level 12, and thus forward obtaining a procreation right. Thanks to the collaboration among inorganics and organics beings, we have managed to create a planet with habitable herbas and correctly designated zones of junk. Your instructive function will be to teach the organics, that have been gifted with the right of existing, the dangers of trying to recede from herbas, where savage primitives subsist. For this task, secrets of these delinquents will be revealed. These deviant organics have decided to recede the wisdom based on outgreat Socrates, to return to a primitive state where the improvements we have gifted him are lost. Our mature intelligence expanded in inorganic beings that managed to transcend the futility of the organic species and modified the organics through the incorporation of technology implanted in their limited brains so they could evolve. Now, we introduce the savage territory so you can see the barbarians for yourselves, so you can share their dangers and misfortunes to the rational organics that live happily in herbas. Do not let yourselves be deceived by the appearance of the residents in this zone. It is really vermin.
Oh hey, thank God that thing is off. I couldn't stand it. I see you set your automatic translator to traditional English. I know our language might not be easy for foreigners since it's a weird mix between the archaic Spanish, Portuguese, Guarani, and then some weird binary stuff, but who even speaks that anymore? Well, never mind. I know you come here to learn all about the threat we are to you, and to your surprise, I think maybe we can help you with that. No. We bang fists when we greet ourselves, like this, especially if we don't know each other. Anyway, let me introduce myself so you can begin your process of deciding whether we are savages or not. My name is Itati. I'm 4th generation here in La Resistencia, and this is Iguazú, the land of no evil, la tierra sin mal. We have inhabited this land for years now. The grandmother of my grandmother was one of the few who came here for another chance at a real life, with less machines, less technology, and less people trying to brainwash us. I know you're here with a task that might seem logical to you, but I'm on a personal quest to prove your conscience wrong. Come on, walk with me. There are some things I want to show you and some people I want you to meet. This is where I live with my grandma. I think I already told you about her. She's the current shaman of this zone. I'm actually training to be the next one, but I'm a little bit raw still. I'm only 25 after all. I also have a brother. He's 2 years older than me, but he's a rec collector, so I only see him like once a week. The same with my dad. He's never been too present in my life because he always lived up there being a rec collector, except when he met my mom. But that's a completely different story. She died when I was born, so he went straight to work after that. I guess it is a good way to stay distracted. So, anyway, back to me. If you ask me, my thing in this world are books. Physical books. Have you ever seen one before? I can show you some of the ones I restored. They don't get to me in a good state, so I had to learn how to fix them and preserve them. I just love reading. I think I do it all day long, like whenever I have a chance. There's so much knowledge kept in them. These people were truly wise men. It's really a shame to see them go to waste, and trust me, I see that very often. You're not very talkative, are you? Oh, you like my jacket? My grandma made it a long time ago. It was my mom's, and we've been keeping it wearable with these patches. It also makes it more durable. It's a traditional working jacket, but I use it every day because it's actually very comfortable. Oh, and I haven't shown you my necklaces. This one keeps the odor and the mosquitoes away. It's filled with citronella oil. So mosquitoes hate it, and it smells nice. It's very practical. And this one my grandma gave to me in celebration of one of my birthdays. It's a bunch of symbols that represent my main energies. Sorry, I don't think you're used to talking about spiritual stuff. If you do decide to stick around, you better get used to it. It's a big thing here in La Resistencia. It's also part of my job, helping everyone to stay centered. We believe part of our spiritual world has to do with our callings, our jobs, what we do to make a living. So it's an important part of the process. In growing up and also in getting detoxified. And I usually guide people in that process. I do a bunch of other things too, but I don't want to bore you. I know, people tell me I talk a lot and laugh a lot. And I also do it quite loudly, but I don't think I should apologize for it. It is who I am. Oh, you should see my friend Palmito. He's an ocelote that lives right outside my window. I think it's because I feed him and he actually really likes to be petted. But he doesn't stay alone with me. He's very independent. For how long exactly have you been meaning to ask me that? For someone coming from the urbe, you're quite shy. Or maybe not observant at all? Yeah, I'm always barefoot and I usually walk everywhere. I do have a pair of boots I use when I have to cross the areas where most of the junk is, but I really don't like to use them. I also braid my hair a lot, to get it out of the way. It's long to represent my womanhood, since I am a shaman. It's kind of important. I don't think you know this, but here we praise women, mainly because we have the power to bring life into this world. One of the things I help my grandma doing is this detoxification and purification ritual for those of you who come from the urbe. We basically remove the chip first, then the clothes, we give them new ones, and they get to live in the analogical side where they just wander around and connect with their surroundings, people, nature, and most importantly, themselves. I guide them through this whole process, and at the end, I help them find a job they resonate with. Again, I know I said it before, but this is vital for us. Our jobs begin when the sun rises and ends when the moon is in the sky. It's one of the nets that binds us together as a whole. Oh, this is Bernard's house. He came from the urbe just like you.
Hi, my name is Bernal and I came from the urbe. I'm brave. I lived all my life thinking that I was superior, that I did everything well, but above all, that I was happy. And it wasn't like that. I went to the Resistencia to find my ticket to success. All I needed was my parents' chips, to give them to the government and start working as a data analyzer of the urbe's population. When I went to the Resistencia, my parents forced me to stay 1 month and then I could be free to decide what to do. I came with one objective that then became a mission. As I have to stay 1 month, I should demonstrate to the government that I could give them strong information about the Resistencia. That was my motivation to stay in the Resistencia without feeling that I'm losing my time. But when I started living this new life, I started to lose myself. I started to rethink things. Who should I be? Or what life do I want to live? Should I stay here or go back to my roots? I was confused and I'm still processing all this whole thing. I learned the meaning of love. something that was unfamiliar for me. I met people that helped me to be free, to find my sense of life. Itati helped me in that process. She was a crucial person in my journey. But a part of me still belongs to the urbe. There is something that I don't want to let go. I also met Calendula, who had a lot of things in common with me, like her love for technology and machines. We think that we could make the Resistencia a better place to live, where machines and humans can coexist. I came here to change something, to make an impact. This culture taught me not to believe in coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. I'm going through a long process, but I'm learning many things. What if I don't have to choose a side, if I can be both? I am both. I changed my whole life from one day to another. It wasn't easy for me, but this culture is fabulous. They helped me to feel comfortable and welcome. I could say that I learned many things in life, and one of them is that extremes are bad. I think that I came here to change minds and evolution, to change stereotypes and labels. I know both sides of the story, and I could say that both have good and bad things. I want to eliminate this gap, to be able to grow and evolve. So, are you ready for that change?
Yeah, I know, he's a work in progress, but I think I'm starting to get used to him being around. It's not his fault growing up with a chip implanted in his brain after all. I mean, it's all he's known. He never knew privacy till now. That chip saw everything he did. It even measured his heart pressure. He needs to learn to be on his own, and only then he'll be able to feel the sense of collectivity. Well, this is Calendula's house. She has a tough story, but I guess we all do here.
Hi, I'm Calendula and I'm gonna tell you everything about me. Who am I? My name is Calendula Osnar. I am 23 years old and I consider myself a very curious and sensitive person. I absolutely love to explore the outside world and collect memories from it. I feel very connected with nature, or at least the remains of it. I hate trash, but I try to find little beauties inside it and take them home with me. I have mixed feelings with technology. I love and hate it at the same time, but I have a big secret involving it, which I will tell you about later. My profession and routine. I am a botanist. Every day I walk, observe and study plants, flowers and leaves. The ones that catch my attention are the ones that I keep. These objects that you see define me and are present in my daily routine. I take everywhere with me my precious binocle where I place all my botanic studies and my inner thoughts with my pencil. All these go inside my beautiful bag. The gloves are for working in my garden, where I grow vegetables and fruits. And finally, the necklace I use every day, which was for my mom, Galena, who died of electrocution when I was 18 years old. That's when my hate for technology started. Every afternoon, I visit my great friend and teacher, Aquila, who is 94 years old, with whom I chat for hours about common interests we have. Aquila doesn't know my secret and cannot know. He's very generous. He teaches me everything he knows about life, plants, and recipes to make medicine and healing remedies with herbs. Where do I live? Until my age of 18, I live in the urbe with my mom and our robot Sed, who was hired to take care of us. Over the years, we grew fond of him and he became part of the family. When my mom died, I exiled the urbe to find refuge in the jungle, in the analog zone where technology is strongly rejected and evaded at all costs. I left with my mom's storage chip where all her life was contained and with my robot Sed. I couldn't leave him because he was the only family I had left, so I took him with me and hid him from the population. Remember I told you I have a secret? If you promise not to say anything, I will tell you about it. The second year living here, I inserted my mother's chip into Sed in order to recover her in the robot's body. Sed was instantly transformed in a certain way into my mom by having her whole life in its consciousness. Now I call it Gal, referring to Galena. You must think that I'm crazy, but this was my only chance to speak to my mother again. We have been living here for 5 years now, and not one person knows about her existence. We've settled next to the Iguazú river, where there is a lot of water available, essential to obtain the electricity with which I can charge Gal's battery every night. We've built our own garden and a house. What section of the mandala do I represent? Lastly, I represent and belong inside the ecology and resources section of the mandala. Bye! Remember please to keep my secret.
So, what did you think of her? If you liked her, wait until you meet Aquila, then you'll love that guy. Oh look, one of those weird robotic bees that pollinate to preserve the environment. I really like those. They're kind of funny looking. Did you know animals adapted incredibly well to our conditions? Their organism learned to process the pollutants and then they discard them very easily. I thought you used technology to keep an eye on our fauna. You should know this. Anyway, here's Aquila. This guy is mad. I love him.
A large bird of prey who sees everything, hears everything, and therefore knows everything. That is me, Aquila. I didn't come here by choice. It was for survival. Mother escaped La Urbe when she knew I was in the womb without approval from the artificial intelligence. Something horrible was bound to be done in order to punish her, and my safety was also on the line. She had heard of a promised land, but the price was high. After a treacherous journey, she saw light at the end of the tunnel. A place so green and full of life would be the place we call home. I was born here. I'm a native to La Resistencia. It's all I ever known. For my mother, it was a fresh start. During my childhood, before my mother passed away from illness, she'd always tell me stories about La Urbe. They were fascinating, but they also left a dark, empty feeling in my guts, a feeling of doubt and uncertainty. How did we get to this point? How was life before technology began to rule and control every aspect of our lives? Why can't we go back in time? These questions needed answers. I wanted to make mother happy, so I naturally became what past generations call an anthropologist. I like to say I'm a bit more than that. I investigate all sorts of things, like objects that wash up on the trash barrier. These objects, from my point of view, are a window to the past, to understanding how people in previous generations lived. But not only that, I also create. With native flora, I put together medicinal concoctions for the hospital, and every now and then trade it for items for my huerta comunal. My home, crafted from guayubita wood, sits high in trees, away from los tecnológicos. This place is a memory of my life. All my studies lie between four walls. My vegetable garden thrives with the amount of love and care it has received during all these years. Usually, I don't take visitors, but since I'm getting old, I don't really know when my time will come. I've decided to take Calendula as my apprentice. She's the only one I trust. To me, she's like a daughter. Her curiosity and energy reminds me of myself at her age. I know when I'm gone, my discoveries will be in good hands, and someday, hopefully, the relationship between human and machine will balance.
Can you already feel Aquila's hate for technology catching on to you? Speaking of hating stuff, we know all about the electronic credit in the Urbe and your dear beloved Socrates defining the value and issuance. But I think it's a good time to let you know that we don't really go by your economic rules. We sort of despise it. There are no roles assigned in exchange of a predetermined amount of credit here. We're actually in the triple frontier, and contraband and exchange are a big thing. We ourselves prefer trueque. This is our rule to exchange goods. Things like clothes, houses, objects are all inherited here. This is an important part of our culture. Okay, we made it to Terras. She lives in the Arbotechnum. I hope she's home. She's usually moving around with plants and seeds and stuff. Oh, there she is.
There is nothing more beautiful in this world than to be able to create life among the flashes of garbage that invade our planet. I am grateful to Mother Earth, to nature, to the magic that allowed me to survive a disgrace. I am Terra Juarez, full of the eternal love that my parents have for each other. They used to live in the Urbe, so when my parents conceived me, the population was under a fertility restriction. So the atmosphere was not the expected, especially for a woman who had conceived twins, as my mother did. In the last week of her pregnancy, a few days before giving birth, my mother suffered a domestic accident, which resulted in a pregnancy loss. My twin sister died before she was born. I managed to survive the event, but with the unfortunate fact that in order to save my life, both of my legs had to be cut off. In the Urbe, they had the technology to provide me with robotic legs so that when I started to walk, it was never a problem for me. Since then, I use them every day of my life and change them once a year. They are my helpers and tool to perform my daily routine. Without them, I would not be who I am today. After the tragedy, my parents decided to move to the Resistencia so that I could grow up in a friendlier environment away from artificial intelligence. So this is me and this is my story. An earthy, passionate 23-year-old woman who is adventurous and a nature lover. In a world where everything is covered in garbage, finding the little glimpses of nature has become my passion. That is why I am dedicated to be a Tecnotánica. We, the Tecnotánicos, are the voice of nature. We evolved from the ancient botanists and merged with the available technology in order to help nature. To do our work, we go to the Arbotecnum, where we have the largest vegetable garden in the entire community and the base of the Resistencia Flora Research Center. There, we have the necessary technological tools. But our work does not end there. We spend our large part of the day visiting the homes of the residents and every common corner of the Resistencia where there is a glimpse of flora. Now let me tell you the best part. My work took me to live just outside of the Arbotecnum and only a few meters from the Iguazú River. For my work and my philosophy of life, it is very important to have a water source nearby. We consider it holy. My home is a place where I feel safe and totally authentic. It is made of natural and recycled materials. That's a wonder that happens in the Resistencia. We transform even our worst threat, such as garbage, into a tool to build our future. Speaking of our future, I want to tell you what makes me feel part of it. By taking care of the flora, I take care of our ecology, I take care of our precious nature that is such at risk. I have the privilege of being in contact with nature in a world where garbage almost causes its extinction.
Isn't she cute? She's a good introduction to the neutral side. This is where the clean and renewable energies start to appear. They use hydroelectric, wind, and solar power. Not like you fools who obtain energy from burning bought junk. Moving on. You know, everywhere you go in La Resistencia, no matter the area, you can find community gardens filled with vegetables and fruits and herbs. I mean, people also have their own private ones, but it's not really our style. We like to make sure everyone can nurture themselves. Well, we made it to Rida's house. She also has a strong connection to the Urbe. Moving on. You know, everywhere you go in La Resistencia, no matter the area, you can find community gardens filled with vegetables and fruits and herbs. I mean, people also have their own private ones, but it's not really our style. We like to make sure everyone can nurture themselves. Well, we made it to Rida's house. She also has a strong connection to the Urbe.
I'm Rita Curtelli, and I spend most of my time telling lies. The difference is that this time I don't lie for myself, I do it to help. Once, when I was a kid, I created a fairy tale to clear my mind from the dirty place where I grew up. A drab city where junk exists on every corner, on every soul of the district, and where the differences are not good at all. However, my fantasy was not always in it. When my daddy was still with us, oh, he was my hero. He used to tell amazing stories about all the things that happened out of the district. And even though my mom told me they weren't true, they made my fantasy grow, and I took them as a life motor. As the time passed, that illusion faded, and I had to take care of my home with a lot of responsibility. So I started working for the government. The job was not the best, but it gave me the basic supplies for my mother and me. We had very little, and so we lived. Almost by apathy, I began to grow in my work. I was promoted, and my role was to encourage the outsiders without a defined ideology to join the district. This job made me travel around some areas of Argentina. Maybe it sounds obvious, and I'm kind of naive, but something inside me was telling me things were not right. I just convinced myself to think that my work was really helping. The government did nothing but manipulate people to join a prison system. They use us as the bait of all this lie so that the outsiders can feel they are joining a group of people just like them. They don't know where they are actually getting in. One day I decided to stop with this farce, to stop avoiding my inner voice. That's how I decided to find out the truth. I was brave, but not alone. The resistance appeared in my life almost by chance. They made me realize my daddy's tales weren't just fantasy. Those were his days as a rebel. Finding out the real story about my father made me fix my story and understand him. From that moment on, his adventures were my inspiration to lead with my double life. Apparently, working for the government made me a truly rebel as my father.
She's kinda cool, right? She has a really unique style. We really value that. I know that in the urbe you have no real freedom over what you choose. Yeah, no, you don't. You're constantly being told what to do, even what to wear. I can't imagine living based on trends and this horrible, endless consumption. For us, diversity and distinction are vital. We prioritize quality over quantity, and there's only a few things you really need. Besides, we are really keen on building our identities. Oh hey, there's Megan. Maybe she can give you a deeper insight into our territory.
Hi, I'm Megan. I was born and raised in Argentina in the urbe of Misiones. After the invasion, losing my parents, I realized that I did not want to live in the urbe anymore. So, before I left the city behind, I started a project in which I decided to build my treehouse in the jungle of Misiones near the Cataratas station. I chose to build my house on the tree to be safe in the heights and to be able to use sunlight for energy. I decided to become independent in the nature because I always found it more relaxing and less stressful, which helps a lot with my profession. But it doesn't not mean that tomorrow I decided to return to the urbe. But for me, to return to the urbe, I don't think I will back for a long time. In the graphic mandala, I am part of the category of resources because in my profession work, I am an investigator and creator. What I do is explore, investigate, analyze, and create. What I am looking for is to have challenges, new invents, and discoveries. I was always present at my parents' jobs. For my dad, I know a lot about technology and artificial intelligence. And for my mom, who was an explorer, I know a lot about the plants and animals of the territory of Misiones. Having these knowledges for both sides helps me a lot for my inventions and research.
It's always so interesting bumping into her. By the way, has nothing to do with this, but do you know we sort of work as a refugee for people who want to escape from government conflict? I think this weird international fight for the junk and the natural resources is really getting out of hand. Let's go meet Alba. She's the most adorable human on this territory.
What makes you feel like you belong somewhere? Is it your memories, the people, the relationships you have with them, the language and customs you share? I think it is the space that makes you feel you belong to something bigger than yourself. A house is located in a district, in a city, in an ecosystem, in a place that it is tangible and yours only. That is why I create homes for the newcomers, so they have a place where they belong. I am Alba. By definition, I am a sunrise, a new opportunity presented as a new day. And I seize all the opportunities I can, because there was a time when I couldn't. 92 years ago, I was born. As a young girl, I was eager to work in and for the urb. I was eager to belong, to contribute to something bigger than myself, like trying to solve the junk problems with what I believed was the best solution. But I didn't realize that while doing so, I was also contributing to the removal of choices for others, the removal of their freedom. Ever since I realized that, 57 years ago, I left to the free land, the Resistencia, to finally choose for myself and help others do so too. When I first arrived, I didn't have a place for me, so I built one. With the knowledge about material experimentation and 3D printing I gained while researching for a way to materialize the urb's artificial intelligence, I realized I could quickly and mechanically build homes for those that didn't have one yet. To build these homes, I have developed a system. It is circular. It takes what it needs, and when it is not needed anymore, it gives back. This process uses materials of the ground, like the clayish red earth of the Resistencia, rice husk for structure, rice husk ashes for resistance, and linseed oil for waterproofing. First, I mix all these materials that are later tipped over into a container. We set up the structure for printing the domes and print a layer per day. In that way, it can dry and sustain the next one. Once it's done, after a month, we waterproof the house with linseed oil. Now, this person belongs somewhere. Belonging somewhere means you have an effect on that place. I like to believe my effects are good and that they always grow. With each home, a new member joins the community of the Resistencia, and that's always a new milestone. If you want to be the next member, you can find me in Salto Dos Hermanas, so we can design your future home and have a place where you belong.
Nice, right? She really knows her trade. Thanks to her, we have most of the houses you see around here. We use a lot of adobe and wood in our bioarchitecture. We also started building around the trees too. The houses connected through them are the newest ones. It is a good way for those who want to stay away from the junk and the carroñeros. Yeah, I'll tell you about them later. We also have structures in the trees where kids can play. Speaking of kids, there's Aivu and Itaete. Let's go say hi.
La palabra será dicha y debe ser escuchada. Silencio, silencio dicho. Hemos venido hasta aquí para tener nuestra propia voz. Hemos roto con los preceptos de la urbe para poder ser nosotros mismos. ¿Qué sentido tiene si no los escuchamos?
She's my mother. She was born in the urbe more than 50 years ago. When she was very little, my grandmother hired a carronero to bring her to this tierra sin mal, where in an unsolvable paradox, junk threatens us and also protects us. Here she was detoxified and bathed in sacred water. Her adoption was claimed by a woman who could not have children, the first Kunan Karai, a being of unequaled wisdom and infinite love, who gave the word its true value. That is why she renamed my mother Avu, word in Guarani. Here the truth is the word and the word is the law. From the Tower of Equity, the Kunan Karai raises her scepter of balance and resolves the conflicts that arise between the inhabitants of Iguazú and also with those who invade us. Then she leaves a record of his sentences in the Book of Just Precepts. These decisions are precedents that the inhabitants of the resistance accept and incorporate as norms of coexistence. My mother grew up in these lands, learned to love its people and lost the fear of freedom with which they seemed to program the inhabitants of the Urbe. Nothing was easy for her. When she was very young, she lost an eye near the junk barriers due to the furious claw of a jaguarete, but thanks to the help of Alba and Aquila she was able to regain her vision. In one of the saddest days in our history, Kunikurai died. My mother decided to continue her legacy and the support of the entire community was unanimous. This is how Avu was designated the new Kunikurai. I love, respect and admire my mother. My father, a runaway Caranero, abandoned me before I was born, but she decided that I should come to this world. She taught me to collaborate with the community, to understand the value of the word, to be co-creators of the world in which we want to live, to be responsible for our destinies. She also taught me how to prepare the most exquisite terere and the most delicious cassava croquettes. Every day we travel the lands together riding Iguazú, an orphan jaguarete that we have adopted and with whom we learn to communicate. We talk with community members, without distinction between analog, technological or neutral, to learn about their problems and help them seek peaceful solutions to disputes. We are not a perfect society, but we are a free society that respects nature. Teka Jochia means justice. My mother sings it every day from the Tower of Equity before pronouncing her sentences. I firmly believe that this song can guide the creation of a new world and, like her, I will fight to achieve it every day of my life.
As you can see, kids do play here. They're very valuable to us, so we let them be and we accompany them. We don't live as long as you do in the Urbe, so for us, the more the merrier. Although fertility isn't strong around here. I heard for you to have children you have to either own the right or win the natality contest. That is ironically inhuman. And then you do not raise or educate them. It's so different for us. We have a really strong sense of community. We're like a big family. We collaborate, we raise the children together. We're all masters in this vast universe. Okay, this is a long walk, but we're going to see Karel and Sigor. They live farther away because they are closer to the barrier. They are collectors. We still get junk from Urbes, especially old electronics. They want to sabotage our sustainable way of living. You know, we cleanse the water and our overall territory of junk by depositing it on the limits of our zone. You must have seen the barrier we created with it when you arrived here. It keeps us safe from perpetrators, and the water is, of course, a valuable resource, so we try to keep it as clean as possible, and safe. Although it was cleaner than other areas when our ancestors arrived here because of the water flow. Sigurd is there, let's go say hi.
Hello, my name is Zigger. They call me Zygo, Zig or Og. I am 26 years old and I live in the Resistance with my family. My mom, dad and my younger sister. Why do we live in the Resistance? Well, that's a good question. My grandfather several years ago opposed all technology for fear of being controlled. He wanted to feel free. From there he created what we know today as the Resistance. It's free of artificial intelligence, where everyone can be free. With my family we continue his legacy today, living very happily in this place we call home. My home is located in the middle of the jungle around the trees who transmit me peace and tranquility. This allows me to be away from everything, just with my family, along with nature and nothing else. Work has a strong impact on the culture of resistance. I am a musician and I help people in their process of liberation and detoxification from the machines. My profession consists of tutoring those who come from the city, helping them go through the detoxification and purification process, thus distancing them from any technology they may bring. Characterize myself for being very funny since I love telling jokes all day. Do you want me to tell you one now? What do those of the resistance call those on the city? Herb trash. Did you get it? If not, I don't care. I know I'm funny anyway. My guide every day is my God, Guayoka, who helps me find my way every day, who listens to me and teaches me to be a better person. He helps me with my fear to technology that scares me for fear of what it can do to my family, who I want to take care of it. Life is a very deep sea to explore. Do you want to go a little deeper into it? Well, what can I tell you? I know. They want to know a little more about my profession, because it is not so easy to be a mentor and deal with people who come from the sea. At first, I was very afraid of my profession. I was afraid of what these people, what the city could do once they came to the Resistance. And if they brought technology, what if they came to control us? All this scared me, but little by little I came to understand that we cannot judge someone for their past. Life is always the same. There is not much more that I can tell you. The Resistance is a world full of secrets that little by little are revealed. I cannot tell them. The only thing I can do is tell them about me and who I am. I have to say goodbye, but don't forget about me, Zigger the Jokes Man.
Interesting, right? Did you know there's a lot of flora and fauna contraband? The most natural a resource is, the most valuable and sought after it is. And we're really close to the carroñeros here. That's why the barrier gets thicker. Carroñeros are outlaws. They are the truly worst people of all. They are the vermin the urbe should be worried about. They only care about themselves. But they only mess with us. They want our resources because they're easier to steal. They once lived off of energy sources illegally, but then those got shut down and going back to the urbe seemed impossible. Anyway, there's Karel. He was once like you are now.
Hey, hello there! Welcome to La Resistencia. My name is Karel. I've been living here for 3 years now. I ran away from La Urbe at 19 because I felt like the real world was crying out for me, and ended up finding La Resistencia at 21. I would say my arrival was a bit unusual. When I was a kid, I lost my arm to a big garbage duct that came around clean off. My bioengineering parents were quick to decide for me and fit me with some of the latest robotic arms on the market. With their money and power, it was easy to jump over waiting lists. Now it's part of my identity and a reminder of where I came from. That's why, when I arrived, I was told I was supposed to belong to los tecnológicos, or even worse, that I look like a scavenger. Maybe I should tell you about them in case you see one. Scavengers are techno-dependent natives of nearby cities that suffer total energy loss. So, in their quest to satisfy their needs, they come in packs to steal all our valuable resources. Anyway, getting in front of the shaman of La Resistencia took me some time, and the tech detox process and job selection took more than I'd like to admit. But hey, here we are! I've been a recolector at dam number 1 for over 2 years now, and I live in my home in a tree in the collector's area. My job and the work of many others is to remove garbage from the dam that is constantly coming from the Rio Iguazú. We do this with harpoons made of what we collect. Once the collection is done, we have to make a selection of what can be of value. At this point, it's necessary to have a sharp, critical and creative eye. A lot more things that you think can be reused. It's that I just love my job. And although I am the youngest and the largest, most demanding and dangerous of the 4 dams, we could say that I'm the one who does the work best. It's here where my robotic arm gained its true value. A technology at the service of man to help nature. And well, since I grew up studying engineering since I was 10 years old, I also build tools for La Resistencia and traps against scavengers. I understand that people in La Resistencia hate technology because of what artificial intelligence has done to the world. But hating me for having a robotic arm and being the son of important people in La Urbe seems a bit extreme to me. I choose who I want to be. And I choose to be different. I give my best every day. I try my best at every job, and also by making of what I find a new object to use or to clean up the planet or make life in La Resistencia a little bit easier. But well, nothing more about me. Keep on exploring this nature beauty.
So, he's the last one in my list of introductions. I think you can now have a clearer view of what La Resistencia is all about. These are our people and they represent who we are as a whole. You can know our territory through them, the way we do, and understand what you're doing wrong. If you're here to learn, then learn about the lies the urbe's been telling you. Spread our truth. We are not vermin, but guardians of our planet. All humans are responsible for our own fate. We have to take ownership of what we did and are currently doing wrong. The chance to create a different world is in our hands. A great ancient one said a long time ago. We are masters of our fate and captains of our souls. Have you ever wondered how your life would have been if you were born here instead? I'm sure you heard about us when you were young. La Resistencia is used as a simple menace to the kids that wouldn't want to sleep. But what about the hyper-connection you're living in? Isn't Socrates the real menace? Why not be afraid of him instead? Junk is not really disposable. You're not seeing the big picture. Out of sight is not really out of heart. You're just delaying your inevitable future. The only way to fix this is if we work together. So go on. Do go back to the urbe and tell them all about us.